Hello, everybody. This is Gerald Salenti, and it's Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. And we are blessed and honored to have with us again Judge Andrew Napolitano, a real man of men that respects what this country was founded upon and the founding fathers, and something that is kind of blacklisted now called the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And he writes about it each week on how they keep robbing us of our rights and keep covering it up. Judge, thank you for being here. And it's great being with you. And everybody, we get great comments. They love us together. But it's so sad that every week what we have to talk about.
Yeah, we talk about war and killing, or we talk about the war on the Constitution. We talk about the loss of liberty here at home, and we talk about the growth of the American empire. Sadly, notwithstanding the promises he made, which drew millions of people to him, Donald Trump seems to be making a 180-degree pivot on his promises to reduce the American empire. Of course, he's not in office yet, but you can tell from the attitude of the people that he has indicated he will nominate once he's in office. This is the same neocon attitude as Biden's people have. It's just that these folks have an R after their name as opposed to a D. That's the only difference. They're members of the big government, pro-surveillance, pro-war, pro-deep state party.
Well, on the pro-war, it looks like I keep seeing these reports coming out that on one side, Trump is trying to stop the Ukraine war. What's your take on that?
I don't know what he can possibly do to stop it. The Biden administration is sending another billion with a B dollars worth of equipment before Christmas.
Yep.
They still have about 4 or 5 billion to dispense between Christmas and Trump's inauguration, and they're going to do it for several reasons. One, he'd like to put the collapse of Ukraine to happen on Trump's watch, which it appears now it will. Two, he wants to be able to say he did everything he could to back Ukraine up. Three, he wants to induce the EU and NATO to spend more money on Ukraine by showing them this is what is going to stop on January 20th. So you guys have to make up for it. It's absolutely absurd. And Keith Kellogg, the general, who is his point person on Ukraine, is in favor of Biden continuing to send this military equipment there. Marco Rubio, the putative Secretary of State, Michael Waltz, the putative National Security Advisor, and this real character, Sebastian Gorka, the putative number 2 National Security Advisor, are serious hawks on all of this.
They just also they just stole another $20 billion of Russian assets, and they're sending that to Ukraine as well.
You mean money that was frozen in European banks?
Yeah. So America's sending another $20 billion. They just announced it yesterday.
Well, that money will go into the pockets of people like Zelensky, and it will pay to operate the Ukraine government. Why should the American government have anything to do with it? Under what moral or legal theory can we steal assets from Russian deposits in banks and give it to somebody other than the person who put it in the bank? That's called bank robbery.
It's over $300 billion that the United States and Europe have seized from Russia's banks that they've stolen. It's a crime syndicate, and it's just getting worse. And again, there's a lot of hope out there that Trump will change the game. And you have an article that's coming out tomorrow. And before I go any further, everybody, please listen to what I'm saying. If you want to really see the other side of what's going on, particularly on the military end, and the truth of the matter, you really need to tune in to Judge Napolitano's site, Judging Freedom. The people that he has on, you're not hearing anywhere else. They're blacklisted from the mainstream media because they're only prostitutes. They're media whores that get paid to put out by their corporate pimps and government whoremasters. And nobody pays us to say anything. We say the truth of facts. And the people that he has on, Colonel Douglas McGregor, Scott Ritter, Jeffrey Sack, one after the other.
Phil Giraldi is on today. McGregor's on today. Professor John Mearsheimer is on today. None of them is permitted on mainstream media.
No.
All experts in their fields.
Well, you and I met years ago when I used to be on Fox all the time.
Correct. When I used to be on Fox too.
Yeah. And I used to be on Oprah, the Today Show, Good Morning. Totally blacklisted when I said America would lose the Afghan war and that we had no right going into the Iraq war. That was it. Don't want to hear from you anymore. Get the hell out of here. Yeah. So anyway, Judge, you have an article coming out, and it's about, there's a lot of positive hope from a lot of people that Trump is going to change the game. Again, what we believe and what we think are one thing, but facts are the other factor. And you have an article that's coming out tomorrow. Will Donald Trump stop domestic spying?
I don't think he will, even though he himself has been victimized by it when in 2015 and 16, when he was running for office the first time, even though he was victimized by it while he was in the White House, which we now know and didn't know at the time. But he signed into existence the legislation that permits this very spying. It is due to expire about 18 months into his term, and we'll see what he does. But he could stop it with the stroke of a pen. He could say to his new FBI director, your job is to solve crimes, not predict them. No more computer hacking. He could say to the NSA and the CIA, no more of this software, this zero-click software, which allows you to get inside people's desktops, laptops, and mobile devices without tricking them into clicking on a link. No more of this. You guys are going to follow the Constitution like everybody else. Does anybody really think he'll do that? If he does, he'll be the first president in the modern era that has done that. And he didn't do it in his 4 years in office already.
Well, tell us more about this article. The zero click, by the way, the software it comes from Israel, correct?
Yes, there are two versions of it. The Commerce Department only banned one version. The FBI bought it under Trump, apparently without telling him. To Biden's credit, when he learned that the FBI had it, he ordered them to stop using it. He didn't order them to stop hacking into people's computers. He just ordered them to stop using this one brand of software. When Congress learned about it through Congressman, now Senator Adam Schiff, I disagree with Adam Schiff on many things, but I agree with him on this. He offered legislation to prohibit its use. That legislation was modified over his objection so as to allow the director of national intelligence to decide whether or not it could be used. Of course, she's going to say, yes, it can be used. Why doesn't the president do his job? Why doesn't the Congress do their job when it comes to spying? Easy answer, because the intelligence community has dirt on so many people. The government is actually afraid of its own creation, the intelligence community.
This looking at this Trump administration, he just picked another person from Fox, I believe, to with his son's girlfriend or something. She used to be, starts with a G, her name.
Kimberly Guilfoyle. God, what did he ask her to do? Probably something in Europe. He wants to get her away from his son.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think he made her an ambassador somewhere. I mean, and what did he do? Jared Kushner's father, that he,
Well, Jared Kushner's father, who served 2 years in a federal penitentiary for hiring a hooker to have sex with his own brother and taping it in a hotel room and using the tape to get the brother to back down on contractual demands he was making over family real estate. This is otherwise known as extortion. Went to jail for 2 years. Trump pardoned him, and now Trump is making him the ambassador to France. Does he speak French? No, but he knows how to spend money in Paris. You can't make this up.
it's so sad with again, and you look at the people that he's brought in, it's like one billionaire after another. And what is it, like 14 billionaires or something are in there. And then, of course, there's Trump on one side with the Ukraine war, but the Israel war is a whole other different story. I saw an article, and I have to find it again, where Sheldon Adelson's wife, what's her name? Starts with an M.
Miriam.
$193 million so far.
What about 193? That's what she spent on the campaign?
Yeah, into two different places she put it into.
Right.
And then you look at all the people that he's picked for his cabinet and the other positions, they're all pro-Zionist. And right now, the Syrian, this terrible thing going on in Syria, Israel is stealing more territory, and Netanyahu said they're not going to give it back. They're going to keep stealing it. And when Trump was president and got $100 million from Sheldon Adelson, he also said to Israel, that land you stole over there in the Golan Heights, it's yours.
Right.
And now they're stealing more land.
He'll say the same thing, and they're stealing land with military equipment and ammunition and uniforms and toothpaste and toothbrushes and boots and everything they have, paid for by the American taxpayer. While the prime minister is being cross-examined in court on 3 corruption cases, which have been ongoing for 8 years, and for the evidence of which his guilt is overwhelming.
What do you think is going to happen with Syria?
I think it'll divide up into little fiefdoms run by various militias. The principal fiefdom that was taken over when Assad left is fiercely anti-Zionist. I think Benjamin Netanyahu, who's growing over this, has a surprise waiting for him, and it's not a happy one.
Well, they reported in the Times of Israel yesterday that Israel has destroyed over 80% of the military equipment in Syria.
Right.
And the United States has been bombing it, and Turkey as well. So what do you think Turkey's role in this is going to be?
I don't know why Turkey's there, other than it wants to get rid of the Kurds, which will be very interesting because they're aligned with the United States, as you know. I don't think Turkey's going to fight the United States. Erdogan is a bit of a mystery to me. He's condemned Netanyahu to the skies, yet he facilitated the removal of Assad from Syria. The removal of Assad from Syria, of course, prevents Iran from using Syria as a conduit to provide aid and material to Hezbollah. That's why Netanyahu is happy. But as I said, the people that took over the government of Syria won't even shake hands in public with a member of the Jewish people for fear that their own people will kill them for doing that, because they believe that by shaking hands with a Jew, you recognize the legitimacy of the state of Israel. So this is only going to get worse, Gerald. Prediction, the 1,000 American troops there will swell to 10,000 under Donald Trump.
Wow. Do you think that Netanyahu is going to ramp up the war as he's getting in more and more difficulty as he's going to court?
Sure. As it looks like he's going to be convicted, he'll attack Iran. I mean, he's actually, listen to this, Gerald, he's not testifying in the courtroom where the judges and the jurors are. He's testifying from a remote bunker 60 feet below the earth in Tel Aviv. The fear is that he might be assassinated if he's in that courtroom. This, of course, also creates the aura in the courtroom that this is not just an ordinary, everyday criminal defendant. This is a very, very important, significant person. But he'll take the Gerald Celente advice and, will all else fails, take the Israelis to yet another war. He's already used the war in Gaza and the war in Lebanon as an instrument to delay the trial. And finally, the judges said enough is enough. He appealed that decision, and the appellate courts upheld the judges. So he was ordered to show up and testify.
This is it's totally out of the news, by the way, in the mainstream media of the genocide being committed in Gaza. I mean, what they've done to the people there, and there's no outrage. It's all wiped off the media. What they're doing to the Palestinian people, and just destroying Gaza under the name of we're getting Hamas. Hamas lives in every house that they destroyed, of course.
Right.
Every school, every hospital.
Hamas is a doctor in every hospital, a teacher in every school, a preacher in every synagogue, a peddler in every fruit stand. This is their excuse for slaughtering innocents. But if you read their own words, former Defense Minister Gallant, they want to mow the lawn. They want to get rid of everybody in Gaza. That's their goal, and they appear to be achieving it with American help and with no force to oppose them. Early this morning, Colonel McGregor and I were texting each other because he's on my show at 11:15 this morning. And he was bemoaning to me the land that is being stolen by Israel and the destruction being wrought by it. And I said, who or what will stop this madman? And he said, which madman are you talking about? Netanyahu or Biden? And I smiled. I said, you're right. He said, only force of arms will stop this, and it will get worse under Trump. Not if Doug McGregor were the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Defense, but he's not. Instead of that brilliant mind with a command of military history and appreciation of the Constitution and understanding of the moral laws and international law, we have a couple of thugs who will do whatever Trump's instincts suggest. Well, there's hey Pete Hegseth. You see that bridge in Tehran that goes to the Ayatollah's house? Let's get rid of it. Now, the real Secretary of Defense would say, well, Mr. President, you have to consider the natural and probable consequences of that. There's a bridge that goes from Fort Lee, New Jersey to Manhattan, named after your first predecessor. They might get rid of that. Instead, this crowd would say, when do you want it done, Mr. President? When do you want the bridge done? That's what we're dealing with, Gerald.
McGregor was going to be appointed under the first Trump administration, I believe, as the ambassador to Germany. And
I believe that too many Republicans opposed because he's in favor of using the military as a last resort. He was appointed eventually to a position that did not require Senate confirmation as counselor to the president and to the Secretary of Defense, a position he held honorably for the last 2 years of Trump's presidency, and during which he believes how much of his advice did Trump accept? It's an easy number to remember. 0.
So that after that, Trump never wanted him back in then, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah, no, it's so sad what's going on here. And, on the other side of this, by the way, on the equity market side, I believe it's going to be very positive for the people on Wall Street, because Trump is going to do everything he can to keep boosting up the United States economy. And so on that level, again, it's not what you want, what you like, what you wish for, it's what is. considering the people that he's brought into his cabinet and his staff, they're billionaires. Like I think it's like 14 billionaires or something are involved in this thing. So they're going to do everything they can to keep pumping up this economy.
Well, it'll be artificial. We know that. And then after Trump leaves, the bubble will burst on somebody else's watch.
Well, it may even burst under his, but I
Yeah.
believe that next year is going to be a positive year for the economy, minus a wild card. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we're talking about Israel ramping up the war against Iran. And if it goes into a nuclear war, you know, forget about the markets. You know, it's going to be hell. Judge, thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you're doing. And again, everybody, please go to Judging Freedom. There's nothing like it anywhere, any place. And the guests that he has on are real, true spiritual people of the highest order in the sense of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That peace has become a dirty word in the mainstream media. You're not allowed to talk about it. And these men that he has on there, like Phil Giraldi, Douglas McGregor, these are real guys. Giraldi, one of the top CIA guys, right?
For 40 years until that incident with Bush, as a result of which he quit. What was the incident? Oh, Mr. President, Saddam Hussein does not have weapons of mass destruction. You'd be ill-advised to use this as a basis for an invasion. Get him out of here. Get him out of the Oval Office. The next day, Phil resigned.
A real man. A real man. And again, what you just said, that's totally out of the news. You know how they make up this story, you know, that God told Abraham that this land is your land. It was 3,500 years ago. You can't even tell me why the Iraq War started. That was just about 20 years ago. And you're telling me what happened 3,500 years ago.
Nobody puts it as pithily and directly as Gerald Celente.
And again, what, did God disappear 3,500 years ago? He hasn't spoken to anybody other than Abraham. Anyway, Judge, thanks for being here. Thank you for all that you do. And again, please go to Judging Freedom, because the judge and the people are for freedom, liberty, life, and happiness. So thank you, Judge. See you next week.
Thank you, Gerald. All the best, my friend.